So the big news in the association, Adam Silver cracks down big time on Ja Morant. It's like he didn't crack down at all. He gave him a slap on the wrist. 25-game suspension for Ja Morant, and only 25 games. And we got a statement from the NBA. I'm gonna go through that. I'm also gonna go through the NBA PA because of course they came out and said it wasn't fair. Blah blah blah. It was a very short statement, but the NBA came out with a long statement, and I want to talk about why the NBA's own statement doesn't match why he only got 25 games. Their own statement justified more. And I'll tell you why, in my opinion. So here's Woj on ESPN talking about breaking it down. And he's going to give you a lot of stuff that we're going to go over again, but I'm going to give my side of what I think about this. So here's Woj from ESPN on First Take this morning, breaking the news.
What is the latest regarding Ja Morant?
25-game suspension to start next season for Ja Morant. I'm also told there will be conditions to his return. I think those will be clarified here soon by the league office. But I think the Grizzlies, those around the NBA, were bracing for the possibility. It could have been even more. But 25 games is significant, certainly to start the season, at least for Memphis now. They know they can start their offseason planning with the understanding of how long they'll be without Ja Morant. But there's a lot of work for this organization, for Ja Morant, together to do to get back on course, regain the trust. I think not just for that organization, that community, but for one of the league's, the faces of this league, to regain that trust.
I want to ask you, Woj, before we go to everybody else. This 25 games, I'm not surprised by it. I don't think you're surprised by it. Based on the people that you've talked to around the league, in the league office, and now, of course, with the Memphis Grizzlies and beyond, why specifically do you believe this was 25 games? Was it because of just a gun? Was it because you told Adam Silver one thing, did another? What do you believe, based on what you're being told, is the specific reason the penalty was this stiff?
Well, remember, 8 games last season, late in the year.
Wait a minute. This stiff? What was stiff about it? What's so stiff about this suspension, Stephen A? There's nothing stiff about this. This is probably the slap on the wrist of all time. What's he talking about stiff? He's out of his mind. It might be stiff for the Memphis Grizzlies because they have to start the year without Ja Morant for 25 games. And that could definitely, play a part on their season as far as like a playoff run or trying to make the playoffs. But from a discipline standpoint, on a player who weeks later after being suspended, I think 8 games or so, and was told the league, I won't do it again. Then he does it again. 25 is not stiff. That's another slap on the wrist. I don't know what he's saying stiff for. Wasn't they supposed to be repairing his image the first time he got suspended? Play it.
Here. And now 25 games. Here's one, and this is new, one jumping off point that has impact. If you're if you miss 18 games now, there's a 65-game minimum that players have to play to make All-NBA, to be MVP, to win Defensive Player of the Year. Well, he's out of consideration now, Ja Morant is, for any of those postseason awards. So that will kick in with this new collective bargaining agreement. You looked at the Miles Bridges suspension in Charlotte, 30 games. You've got to find some precedent here. And for the league, I think the Players Association, if this was half the season, if this was the entire season, different scenarios people threw out, there wouldn't have been precedent for that. But your history does matter. Ja Morant has been under investigation by the NBA for well over a year on a number of different incidences. They went through it with him last season at the end with the gun situation in the Denver nightclub. And again, listen, his career, his future, again, as a face of this league, is in peril if his behavior doesn't change. I think they're starting to see things in Memphis that give them some hope, some confidence that it will. But Ja Morant is going to, through his actions, have to show this over time.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it seemed like Woj just saying a bunch of bullshit. Like, he didn't even know what he's talking. He's making, like, he's trying to justify, like, this is some stiff penalty. It's not a stiff penalty by no stretch of the imagination, folks. I'm just saying. The bottom line is the guy got another slap on the wrist, and which happens, right? You're an athlete. You're valuable. You have a skill set. You're gonna get chances, and I'm not saying that the guy doesn't deserve more chances or not deserve more chances. All I'm saying is, let's not act like 25 games is some, oh my God. Like, I knew he wasn't going to get a full year. He should get a full year, but I thought at worst, he'd probably get like a half a season. But the 25 games just shows us that Adam Silver is soft. He's soft on holding players accountable. That's what it's about. It's more so about Adam Silver in my book than actually Ja Morant, because Ja Morant he's going to be Ja Morant, right? He's going to do what he does. But when you're the commissioner of the league, you gotta put your foot down. And 25 games is not putting your foot down. It's really not. And all this, he will be out of consideration for awards and all that stuff. I mean, these guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, big deal. They won't get $15 million and miss out on it on an all NBA team. Ooh. That doesn't send a message. I mean, these guys don't care about that. That's why they play 60 games this year. That's why they play 55 games. They don't care about that stuff as much. So, I think, but you send a message by hitting him with the 1 year, right? Or even a half a season, you send a kind of a message. But I think the 1 year would have sent a direct message to every single player that, oh, snap, the NBA is for real. But we know why the NBA didn't go full all out, because the NBA is also at fault here, because they are in bed with this type of culture. So they looked at themselves like, well, we can't really penalize these guys for acting the way that we monetize off of, right? They monetize off of this culture. So they don't really want these guys to completely change, because that's how they make their money. You get what I'm saying? So to sit here and try to say, oh, well, younger guys, like I've heard someone else say on another platform, that younger kids, the NBA is worried about the image that other kids are going to look up to Ja Morant. What about what he does in the middle of games? Throws up gang signs and rap lyrics and all that kind of stuff during games. Kids are watching that, right? It's so if you're worried about the image, wouldn't you have also cracked down on that type of stuff? The NBA never cracked down on him about the gang signs, never cracked down on the rap lyrics. I mean, they play the music at the arenas, whoop that trick and all this kind of stuff. So you're not really worried about the image of the children. You don't care. You want those kids to follow that and come up so you can monetize off those kids too. So let's just stop pretending that you guys really care about the image of the kids. You just only really suspending the guy because you got to do something. But you're not really trying to stop it. Right? They're almost encouraging it in a sense. And that maybe that's why Ja Morant took on that persona, right? Because he wasn't this kind of guy before the NBA, right? According to all the people. This guy was good family, you know what I'm saying, college kid, wasn't really doing that stuff. but got to the NBA where maybe he understood, like, look, if I want to get that next level of popularity, like Allen Iverson and all that stuff, I got to kind of emulate that culture. Maybe that stuff was pushed onto him. I don't know. I don't know the guy personally, but all I know is that Adam Silver is soft as the commissioner. That's all I got to say about that. But let's go into let me see if I can pull this up. Not that. So, the NBA put out a statement. First, let's talk about the NBA PA statement. They had a statement first. And they said that the executive director put out a statement on the suspension. They said that Ja has expressed his remorse and accepted responsibility for his actions, and we support him unequivocally as he does whatever is necessary to represent himself, our players, and our league in the best possible light. As to the discipline imposed, which keeps him off the court until December and requires some unstated conditions is to be met before he can return, we believe it is excessive and inappropriate for a number of reasons, including the facts involved in the particular incident, and that is not fair and consistent with past discipline in our league. We will explore with Ja all options and next steps. So, of course, the NBA PA job is to represent the player. So I'm not surprised by this statement, but this statement doesn't really take any responsibility well, I'm not shocked. I mean, NBA PA job is to defend the players at all costs. The guy could have just shot somebody in the middle of Memphis and they would put out a statement just like that because that's their job. But it's a raggedy statement. It's just some copy and paste. Right? They just changed the name. So that's that. Now, the NBA statement is the interesting statement here because right? This is why the NBA statement is interesting, and we'll talk about it right now. This statement right here tells me why they should have suspended him more than 25 games. The statement in itself. So let's go over the statement. Let's read it. So, NBA communications team, NBA suspends Memphis Grizzlies Ja Morant for 25 games with conditions for reinstatement. Right? Let's see if I can pull this up. This is from June 16th, so it's today. Statement released. NBA announced today that Memphis guard Ja Morant suspended 25 games without pay for conduct detrimental to the league. Morant posed with a firearm in a car during a live stream video on May 13th. Less than 2 months after he was suspended 8 games without pay for the live streaming of a video on March 4th in which he displayed a firearm while in intoxicated state at a Denver area nightclub. Now, 2 months after. Now, remember after he got suspended the first time for 8 games, he did the interview with Jalen Rose. He was like, oh, I'm good. Everything's great. I'm going to be this great guy. And we told you before that another incident is going to happen again because the light suspension that he got the first time. We said, oh, he's not going to learn his lesson. How does a guy change in 8 games, right? There's no way he can go away for 8 games and somebody's going to go away to some resort and come back as a new man. No. We knew that he wasn't going to be changed, but they tried to sell us that with the interview with Jalen Rose and all that stuff, and people actually bought that he was going to turn himself around. Now, to many people credit, many people out there did not believe it, but a lot of people did, and the NBA obviously did. So, and this is on top of all the other stuff that's going on, right? He still had the investigation going on with the pointing the gun at the kid, incident with his mom at the shoe shop, a lot of other stuff. So the 8 games at that time was considered soft, right? At that time, he probably should have been suspended for the rest of the season, shut down, gone, but he wasn't. They gave him a slap on the wrist that time. So only 8 games. He comes back. So league office found that on May 13, Morant intentionally and prominently displayed a gun while in the car with several other individuals as they were leaving a social gathering in Memphis. So he's doing this stuff in Memphis, right? In the city that he plays basketball in. So he definitely didn't learn his lesson. Morant welded a firearm while knowing that he was being recorded and that the recording was being live streamed on Instagram. And here it goes, despite having made commitments to the NBA and public statements that he would not repeat the conduct for which he was previously disciplined. That's the key sentence right there. Right? He made commitments previously to the NBA. So basically, he doesn't respect the NBA, doesn't respect Adam Silver. He's like, okay, I'll say what I got to say to get out of this. 8 games, fine. I'll do what you say. I'll say whatever I got to say. He had no intentions of changing at that point. He spit in the NBA's face. So, right? And then after that, 3 days later, once the video gets out, 3 days later. So on March 13th, he did the video. 3 days later, he comes out with a statement taking full accountability. And he really didn't take full accountability because if you remember, after that, they're trying to say the gun wasn't real. So did he really take full accountability? I guess that's for you to decide. So, 3 days later, now that video went viral immediately because he was on live. So it went out early. So it took 3 days for him to say, oh, yeah. Like, what are you going to say? You on video. It's not like you can lie and say it was like an AI or deep fake or whatever, right? So now he gets 25 game suspension. 25 games. So pretty much another 17 because he got suspended 8 the first time. So basically his second discipline was worth 17 more games suspended. But here's the problem. If the NBA would have been able to suspend him for the rest of the season the first time, including playoffs, maybe he doesn't do this again. If he does, then you could have hit him with the big one. But the fact that you only gave him 8 the first time and basically saying, oh, this time is going to be 17 extra games for disobeying us and not, it pretty much spitting in our faces 2 months later, right? I mean, not even a full 3-month period, not even a full 3 months after. Like sometimes there's a probation period of 3 months. Typically, like if you get disciplined, and it's kind of like a guy being put on probation, right? And he goes out and commits a crime again during the period of probation. So now he has to get violated by, I guess, the probation officer. So Ja Morant, 2 months later after being disciplined, he's like, I'm going to do it again. But the NBA's gone soft. And so Morant suspended. Now, this is not about the right to carry firearms or not, all right? We got to make this clear because this is the big thing that you see a lot of people talk about. It's like, oh, he should have a right to carry a gun. This is not about the gun. Not about his right to carry the gun. This is about a guy who was previously disciplined for actions in embarrassing the NBA, made a commitment to not do it again, and then did it again. So, and what Woj said, oh, well, it can't be that long, a year, because it's not a precedent. It's not a set precedent. Meaning that, oh, so now the standard is going to be if a guy gets suspended, you're going to look up, well, we gave Ja Morant a year, so now this guy got to get 2. No, I mean, if you embarrass the NBA and you do stuff like this after saying you won't, he has a history. So, of course, you can hit him harder. That's the whole point of being able to hit the guy harder, because the guy has a history. So, I just don't understand what the NBA is trying to do. They're letting the inmates run the asylum, basically. That's what's going on. And the NBA's gotten real soft. They're a soft league. And this proves it right here. Now, they say he will be required to meet certain conditions before he returns to play, and will be ineligible to participate in any public league or team activities, including preseason games during the course of his suspension. Now, what kind of conditions? I don't know. Who knows? What do you got to take? A gun safety class, maybe? Or what kind of conditions are they going to put that he has to take? I don't understand what that's going to be about. So, and here's the part right here that Adam Silver, this is the part that kills me. He said, Ja Morant's decision to once again weld the firearm on social media is alarming and disconcerting, given his similar conducts in March, for which he was already suspended 8 games, said NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. The potential of other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning. So he's worried about the potential of other young people, right? But the NBA is the league that promotes this stuff. They encourage their athletes to act this way. That's how they sell the league. Are you kidding me? Go to the arena, hear the music. Memphis Grizzlies plays whoop that trick at the arena of their games. They've taken on this culture. This guy wasn't like this until he got to the NBA. That's no coincidence. Look, I'm not trying to defend Ja Morant here, because I just criticized him. I think he should have been suspended for a year. But let's be honest here and point out the facts that the NBA has encouraged this type of behavior. They're in bed with this culture. So to try to now run behind the potential of other young people to emulate Ja's behavior is concerning. Really? Now you're concerned? If you're so concerned, you should have hit him with the big suspension. That would have proved to me, if he puts that statement out after hitting him with a full year, then I'd take Adam Silver more serious. I say, okay, that makes sense. I believe you. But I don't believe you when you say it when you only give the guy 25 games. I don't believe you. I just don't buy it. It's not serious. So that's just my opinion on this. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think the 25 games was legit? Do you think he should have got more, less? Do you think it was egregious, excessive? Let us know. We'll talk about it. Sports Pays, run by sports fans.